Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Julie. In today's episode, I'm going to be continuing on with the October Gnome. Today I'm going to be doing the hat for you, and so I will get right on to that. Okay, so I have my nest color out, I'm ready to begin the hat. First thing we do is make a magic ring. This is the magic loop. I have to insert my hook and make a single crochet. Try not to drop the stitches here. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I have to, let's see, pull it tight here. Join everything together. You kind of put your finger on the right side that your work is at and just pull, and it tightens everything up. So I'm going to mark this as my first stitch for the next row. Okay. And then for round 2, I have to do 2 single crochets in each of those stitches. Okay, so like I said, I have to put 2 single crochets in each stitch, so we'll end up with 12. So 1 in the stitch and 2. 1 and 2, which is the 4th one. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now remember, I marked it in the first stitch I said was going to be for that next row, and here it is. So I ended up in the right spot. So I'm going to pull my loop a little bit tighter. Okay, that closed it up a little bit. I don't know if you can see it. It's just a little tiny little bitty hole. Okay, so it does not tell me to chain, so I am not going to do it. I'm just going to pull the marker out and move it up and start row 3. Okay, so there's my first stitch for row 3. Basically, row 3, we're going to be single crocheting in 1 stitch, and then the very next stitch we're doing 2. So we'll have 3 brand new stitches within 2 single crochets, and I do that all the way around. So basically, all we're doing is making our circle bigger, and we end up at the very end, let's see, round 10 we'll have 60 stitches. So that will be the largest it'll be. So when I get to the 60 stitches, I'll bring you guys back and I'll show you what it looks like. "56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. Okay, so that was the completion of round 10. This is how large it is. When you compare it to the little marker, kind of can see. Okay, so I'm going to move this up to row 11. Okay. Row 11, it says back loop single crochets in each stitch. So the loop that I have the marker in is the front loop. So I will move that up to row 11. Okay. So this one here, is our next stitch. This is the front loop and this is the back loop. So when they put them in instructions, they'll say BL, which is back loop. Okay, so I have to do a single crochet in each of these. There's one. Whoops, I dropped my threads here. So I'm going to work around in the back loops all the way around all my 60 stitches. There's 3, 4, 5, and when I get to 60 of them, I will bring you back. But basically what it's going to do is it's going to start, because we're not increasing the circle anymore, these are going to start tipping down. And you'll see these are the front loops here, this line right here. That's our front loop. And when we get finished with the hat, you usually put like a rim on the top. It's like a brim on the top of the hat. I'm sure that's probably what those are for. But anyway, this will start tipping down like that. And I'll show you what it looks like. I'll bring you back. $59 and $60. Okay, so I will move my marker up. Okay. Go to number 12. Where is it? Number 12. Okay. And I have to flip the page. All right. And so rows 12 through 16, I just put a single crochet in each one. But see how it's starting to tip down a little? Like this is relatively flat, but then this edge here, it starts like tipping down and looking like an edge, which they're not like square corners or anything. So it's rounded, and you're going to stuff it, so it, depending on how full it gets. But when you put this extra little stitch here, I believe it's just probably single crochets, but once you put that on there, it really stands out that it's the top of like a top hat type thing. And if you've seen my other, the other gnomes, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I guess I could show you on the picture here in the book. Okay, so see how that's the little edge I'm talking about that you put on there. And it does, like, it rounds up, like, for your head. Round it up there. But that's where you put that flower that I made in last week's video. That's where it goes. It goes right on top of this hat there. And this here is a butterfly. So that's kind of cute. So, okay, I'll get working on rounds 12 through 16, and I will bring you back. Okay, everyone, so I've got to the point where I'm on that last row, that 16th row, and I have to change colors. So what I'm going to do in my last single crochet, I'm going to pull up my next color, which in the book they call it salmon, and I'm going to be using coral. And remember, they actually call this red coral in their catalog. So I'm going to be pulling this out, and I'm going to snip this nest color, maybe 4 inches. I'll give myself a little bit of room here. And I'll have to show you how much I have left of that ball. This is what I've got left of that first ball. So luckily I have another ball of this nest, but I'll wind this up into a, something better than a straggly little thing like this. But I'll open my coral. Which sometimes these things are hard to open up, so I'm glad that one was fairly decent. There's the end. So I'll grab this end, throw the other end into my basket. All right, so I'm gonna tuck that inside just for a second. I'm going to grab this one up here and pull through so I have a single crochet. All right. So in the 17th row, we have to do front loops in each stitch around, and we do single crochets as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm grabbing up both of my tails and front loops. Oh, I better move up my stitch marker here, or my pin as they call it. It's a pin. I just was taught that it was a marker, and I don't know. I guess I just keep using the same word even though I know it's not. It's not that. It's actually a pin. But anyway, okay, so front loop, single crochets only. So front loop is this one here. Okay, so I'm going to go under my two tails and grab my yarn. Okay, and then I got to pull this coral one a little bit tighter. All right, so front loop only, which is hard to do because I'm holding on to everything, trying to, underneath the two tails. Okay, and I'm doing under the two tails so that way I'm actually stitching them into my stitch, so they're completely covered and they won't show, hopefully anyway. All right, so anyway, I'm going to keep doing this around, and I'll bring you back when I have to switch back to my nest color. Okay, so I made it to row 20, and so that means I have 3 rows on the band. 1, 2, 3. So I have to switch colors back to, well, in the book it says teak, but in mine it's nest. And I wanted to show you, this is what I have left. I rolled it up in a little ball. And there's the big one. So I'll open up this one here because I'm sure that's not going to be enough to do the rest of the hat because it has that brim on it. So I'll open this one up. Okay. Try to find my end here. Oh, it must be the one tucked in. Yep, there it goes. Okay, so there's my end. So what I have to do is I have to cut my coral. I'll snip it like I did the last one. I'll pull it out of the basket, wind it back up, and put the label back on it. So I'll do that. Oops, sorry about that. I'll do that off camera, so that way I can continue. All right, so I'm going to do it just like I had before. I have 2 of the loops on my hook. I'm going to grab up my nest color and just do that, and then I'll move my stitch marker up. Now this one we just do, let's see, we do front loop crochets, and then basically we're just building it wider and wider. You know how hats do, they get wider at the edging there. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be building around just like I did before. This part here, how we did like 1 and then 2 in a stitch, and then we did 2 singles and then 2 in 1 stitch. We're just going to be doing that type of thing all the way around. So when I get to the edging, to the very last, I'll bring you back and tell you what I have to do next. All right, everyone, I just got done completing round 23. Here is the hat. I don't know if some of you might have watched my other gnome that I made, and it is a much taller hat. This section here, I believe, has 4 or 5 more rounds to it, but this one here is a little bit shorter hat. I think it's because the flower that we put on top is so tall. But anyway, see how I had to build around, so it kind of, tuck that in there, kind of sits, like a hat would. But anyway, I have to do this here. I have to put a row on here, and they call it an ornamental round. So I'm going to be doing that next, and then the hat will be actually completed. So I'll show you that what it looks like when I get it all done. Okay, folks, so here's the completed hat with that top little rim on it. Okay, so that's the finished hat. And we don't actually put our flower on it until much later. So next step in the process is to start the head and then the robe. So that'll be for next week's video because this is getting kind of longish. So I wanted to thank everyone for watching me as far as you've been. And I hope everyone has a terrific day. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.